All right, I think this is starting. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, just sitting here drinking my morning coffee, looking sexy as hell as usual, and thought I would wake up with you guys and gals. Of course, you guys see the title. I think people realize I'm not a fan of modern bodybuilding. Don't care for it at all. Haven't in a really, really, really long time. Don't support it. You know, and I've said my piece on that. I feel like that might be worth making an afternoon live stream. All but it's in the title. But I thought, yeah, let's wake up with everybody, get a good coffee chat. These start a little slow. They take a moment for to get into people's feeds sometimes. So we're gonna let it run for a minute. Let me get my Amazon wish list up. If you guys want to send me coffee or protein, hey, it'd be great. It would be great. And hit the like as soon as you get in here. There we go. Let me get that. All right. At least we're getting a few views. The one like disappeared. Somebody took it away. Oh well. All right. Well, let's hopefully get some good questions and comments and conversations going. These start off slow. I kind of let obviously the audience set the pace here. Good morning, Coach. How you doing, Dad? Hey, Dad. The whole thing with psych is actually a little weird. I'm gonna be honest, man. Just an FYI, it's very weird. So, all right. Hold up. I gotta make a quick post on Facebook. All right. And then we'll get over to you lovely people and hopefully some more questions and comments and topics. Let this evening. Hey, Dad, but that's what I mean. It's a very weird thing. We didn't agree to anything at all. Hey, let's hit the like button, please. But yeah, so it's evening for you. It's 5 in the morning for me. I'm gonna take a day off from training. I feel like my body needs a rest day this Sunday. I don't think I'm gonna run. I did really good conditioning day, so I ran, and then I had all that GPP. Had amazing workout Friday with rep PRs. So it's kind of like let's just chill, fast through the morning, get my coffee, and then get lots of protein later. Your guys look shredded, Coach. Just being lean, or is there lean? Being lean helps. Good conditioning helps. I've always had the veins, but I also started as a runner. As soon as I got into training, right? As soon as I got into training, I had veins everywhere. It's probably a genetic factor also, but conditioning always helps, right? And conditioning doesn't mean bodybuilder conditioning. I mean conditioning work, cardio. Rodrigo, Coach, I love fasting and self-information. Is it true that your metabolism stops working while fasting, or has been debunked? Why would your metabolism stop working? Like, that sounds like a very strange theory. I've never even heard that one. I don't even understand how someone came to that conclusion. Like, what's the chain of logic here? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, somebody failed biology in high school. I lost, if they're coming up with theories like that. I lost track after traveling with a cold. How do you recover? You start training again. Lots on leaning down while being sick. Got brachialis. I mean, I don't understand the question, Limitless. Could you please ask it a different way? I'm wondering about floor presses. Are they worth doing? Depends on what you're trying to do. Depends on where your weak links are on benching. depends on how thick you are. Like, if you're not really thick, they're probably not the best hypertrophy exercise. But if you're like me and you can get this close to your chest, or someone who's got a really thick back, they could be a good chest exercise. Mainly because they take all the leg drive out, right? Because when you learn how to bench correctly and you get tight on the bench, because you don't necessarily want to be loose. If you get loose on the bench, it's riskier for your shoulders. So when you know how to bench and you get tight, it's very hard to not leg drive. You almost have to obsess over it to the point where it destroys the quality of your work. All right. I don't know who the fuck Derek is. All right, next. So, are you talking about that oil bag, whatever, with like oil all in his lats and all that gross ass shit? That dude? I think, yeah, that guy who won the Olympia. Nico and I did a video discussing that nonsense. My friend Nico, natural bodybuilding, did that. He did that for 20 years and had a pro card. He's a good bro of mine. We did a sit down video. We laughed about that a couple of years back. It's just hideous. This is why I hate modern bodybuilding. Is just repugnant. It needs to go away. It needs to just go away. But as far as floor pressing goes, it's great for taking the leg drive out while still being able to get tight. It can be great for certain sticking points on your bench, but it just depends on what you're trying to do. I am a fitness person with a long time thing, but I do not associate with the fitness industry itself anymore. I choose not to. I have no financial aspect of any of it. I run a coaching business. Yeah, but I don't care about modern bodybuilding. It is a revolting death cult with hideous bodies. All of them, including even the classic physique. Yeah. So I don't know why you would think that me and most of my followers would care about that. But Limitless says, I got this lung inflammation sickness for the past month. I want to lean down. Can I be on a deficit while sick or a bad idea? I'd be careful of that. You're going to find recovery more difficult. All right. Yeah, that Derek guy, he looks disgusting and he's going to die young. The guy is just a giant bag of oil. You can literally see oil in his lats from all side ejecting his lats. You can even see it from the front. Bodybuilding has fallen a long time ago. And you have only the judges and the marketing to blame. Yeah. I think this made me very depressed. Why? Why would Limitless? I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. You strike me as someone who, in general, you really need to just toughen up. I've just noticed a lot of your comments in here. You got to learn to just toughen up a little bit, son. Just in general. I'm not being mean with the way that you've done stuff with dating. Then you're depressed because I told you you shouldn't be in a deficit when sick. I'm just saying, dude. We got to work on this mindset thing. We got to work on this mindset. All right. This is not serving you well. Like, to even have an emotional response at all, let alone very depressed. You know? So why don't you focus on getting better? Like, you're dealing with a lung inflammation. Why don't you worry about healing and continuing to train the best you can and then worry about a deficit? Because dieting while you're sick, it's going to compromise your immune system further. So being at a calorie deficit, it's going to make it harder. You're literally going to slow down your recovery from the illness. Hey, Jason, I'm going to do sleds again today for the first time in a while. How long should a sled session be? 10 to 15 minutes is a lot. I mean, I guess it depends, straight edge. That's like how do I put this? Planning GPP is no longer GPP. Like if you're seeking sport-specific outcomes, and the same thing with asking how long should a sled session be? That's like asking how long should I run? Well, I don't know. There's a lot of variables. I mean, I've never done a 10 to 15 minute sled session. You just go, if you're going to go that long, just go jog, man. We're defeating the purpose of really what you're getting out of a sled. Like, you're asking me how long a sled session should be. I'm thinking we're talking, should I do it for 1 minute or should I do it for 4 minutes today? But like 10 to 15, just go jog, just go running at that point. Because we're not getting a strength benefit or a hypertrophic response with the higher intensity conditioning, at that point. Unless but again, I'm not really sure what you mean by 15 minute. I'm assuming you're not, are you talking about pushing a sled for 10 minutes straight? That's going to have to be a really light sled, or are you talking doing 45 seconds and then resting a minute for 10 minutes? All right. So, right. Keeping in mind, think of, you have to remember sled work is generally done for higher intensity. It's general physical preparedness. And we're trying to get an actual muscle growth response out of it too. So you're looking for conditioning and hypertrophy. Like it's part of your leg training, and that's the way to look at it and approach it. I could do jogging too, and that's not a bad go. So I mean, even what I did yesterday, I ran, and then I a little bit later I did my GPP. But I did sleds near the end of it. I just did 2 rounds of sleds. But a good mix in general works. I haven't played any video games in years, Sora, and I make a lot of statuses about video games that upset a lot of guys when I tell them that video games are generally counterproductive to you being productive as a man. I recommend that men generally avoid video games these days. So there's something I'd absolutely changed my opinion on over the years. I would say that's one of the biggest ones. People accuse me of flip-flop because of studies, but that's an actual real flip-flop. And I admit it. Like every time I look back, yes, I played WoW while I was married to my first wife. And then when I was medically disabled and completely sick and couldn't really leave my house. So yes, it's a complete utter waste of time. Yeah. It's nothing but a mindless time sink, video gaming in general, and it's going to make you less productive as a man. It's just across the board. And it was in my own experience whenever I did it. But doesn't sled help build the quads and squat? Straight, yes, absolutely. That's the point. But if you're pushing a sled for 15 minutes straight, you're not getting that benefit. Does that make sense? That's like saying, hey, if I were to squat the empty bar or just my body weight for 15 minutes straight, that's going to build my squat. Well, probably not. All right. I play my games when I'm doing cardio, right? But let's come back over. Hey, straight edge, I'm not changing my answer. I feel like I gave you a very, very clear answer. I'm not changing my answer. Is that fair? So if you want to actually build muscle in your squat with it, you can't do it for long periods of time. It needs to be in bursts. Okay, so I thought you were asking me to change my answer. Okay, gotcha. Keep in mind this is in text. It can be hard to determine what people are saying. Like messages get crossed a little bit, especially when I got 3 conversations going on. Yeah. Devil's advocate, when you say watching movies, YouTube is similar to video games. No, because I make money on them. See, are you getting paid to play video games? Yeah, straight edge dad's a troll. He's not a malicious troll, but he's a troll. You'll realize that really quick. But what about when you watch YouTube just for yourself? I don't watch YouTube. What the fuck? Oh Lord. Oh man. I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't sit around watching YouTube unless there's a business reason. Even when I watched other fitness channels, it was 100% to make videos about it so that I could make money. To me, YouTube is a business thing. It has nothing to do. I derive no personal pleasure from watching YouTube. Just throwing that out there. Not really. I mean, do I like some of the music in the background while I'm working? I like some of the response videos while I'm working sometimes, but I'm actually working. Like I am literally working if it's playing with something like that. That's the only thing I like on YouTube. I like response videos, to be fair, but I don't just sit there and watch them. Like I'm working on client sheets. I'm, you know, editing videos and other stuff. Like I'm doing stuff that makes money for my online businesses while it's playing. Makes sense. I don't have time to get bored. I'll go play the guitar. If I just need to step away from work, I'll play the guitar. You listen to music? Yeah, sometimes. I look for new music. And then I'll end up hearing response videos and seeing other people's responses to it while they jam to it. That's where I look for new music and bands and different things. I can find a lot of new stuff. Do I ever or have I ever? I only coach personal friends and family in person these days. I've previously coached in person, but my business is all online. It's all virtual. Yeah, right. Fair enough. Just saying that, but we know you're a troll. He likes to pick fights with everybody in the comments a lot. Yeah, I listen to music on YouTube. I mean, I've discovered a lot of good stuff that way. Things like Nightwish. Oh, I don't keep them in my rotation on my iPod. So if I'm going to listen to anything while doing stuff like running or training or whatever, I stick with all my classic bands. There was a lot of trolls. A bunch of the ones yesterday were the same couple of people with multiple accounts. Hey, Dad, what? I will tell you, though, one of my big rules is a personal pet peeve of mine, and I will probably eventually ban you for it, just an FYI. When I told you that no, I don't want to go watch something, and you repeatedly do it, I'm really big on no means no. It's an invasion of, like, I can take it very personal. If I tell somebody no on something and they push it again, I will unfriend them in real life. I'll block a fucking family member for it. So think about that in terms of just a regular troll in the comments. Just keep that in mind. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that when I say no, I mean it. Okay, Dad, last warning. I'm being extremely, extremely nice and forgiving. I've given you one last warning. I've told you no, I don't want to go listen to it. And that's fair. In the meantime, though, guys, I got to refill my coffee. Hey, Dad, you're the only one. Why did you mention it again? All right, I'm about to ban you. I told you no, and you mentioned it again. So let's vote on Kapow, guys, for Dad. I told him no. I didn't want to do it, and then he still typed it out again. Kapow or stay? Kapow or stay? No, you already know. I told you to leave it alone. I told you no means no, and I blocked even family members on Facebook in real life. Okay, I'm going to give you one last chance, but if you type the name again, because I've already told you no, I'm not going to go listen to it, and you pushed like a dozen times. If you type the phrase one more time, it's automatically banned. We're done. I've now set the law. The law is the law. We're not Kapowing psych. But I'm gonna have to be stern with Dad and the boys here. All right. All right. The law is the law, and no means no. He's consistent. He is. So I was explaining to him, psych, I'm one of those people that when I say no to someone and they push something, I will cut them out of my life. Hey, Jason, I want you to go do this. I really want you to do this. And I say no. I've said, I'm not doing it. I'm not interested. And they keep pushing. I'll give them about 3 chances, and then I will literally block a cousin on Facebook. I'll block them on my phone until they apologize. No means no. Right. I had one apologize at a funeral, so I had to block him. Oh, man. I re-added him on Facebook. I hate when people tell me what to do. Exactly. Like, bro, you tell me what to do. If you're trying to tell me what to do, you better be giving me a lot of money or we better be having really good sex. That's about it. Anything outside of those two, you don't get to tell me what to do at all in any capacity in my life in any way. Well, I mean, I guess if you're a police officer with a badge and a gun, I'm going to listen. But short of that, no. Like, you better be signing my paycheck. What if it's a medic? Did I ask his opinion? I don't know. I've never been in that situation. You know. Yeah, Dad has been promoted, right? Maybe watch it later. There was no later. Right. I also hate it when people keep asking me the same thing over and over, and I say no, especially when it comes to things like money. What? Yeah. All right. I couldn't take Dad's position. Give an example, sorry. So let's break this down. Let's have some conversations about this. You know. All right. I mean, I get it. If you're in a really serious relationship or married to somebody, that's a little different. But you know, like they obviously get a say in how money is spent. Um, I mean, definitely your spouse obviously has a say. Like that's just common sense. But today your off day, coach, or what do you mean off day? Off day in training or off day from work? I don't take days off from work. I work 12 hours a day. If we count lifting, no, I'm no training. I'm going to take the full day off from all training. I've trained 6 days in a row between lifting and GPP. I'm going to just chill today. We're going to drink coffee. We're going to work, listen to music, jam on the guitar, do some lives. I have 4 clients who need to be updated today. So, but I don't have any calls scheduled unless some of my bros want to come through and hang or something. I'm just going to work. Or other stuff going on. All right. So I liked them. I need to do more of them. I want to mess with. I feel like they're going to be good for my shoulder health also overall. They were just nice to just get out and do some. Plus, I look pretty big coming back to the camera. I'm like, damn, I look like I actually lift. You know, that's a rare moment for those of us with body dysmorphia. There you go, psych. There's a whole thing for you to unpack. Lifters and our body dysmorphia. And I think the internet makes it so much worse because online I get so much hate and negative comments, and in person I get nothing but compliments. I've literally had a woman tell me I look like a Greek god. I've had another one just who I knew personally. Another one just stopped me in the grocery store like, wow, you are super jacked. On the internet, I'm just a fat piece of shit who doesn't look like you. I just wanted better core stability with them. Like I wanted to have good bracing is the main thing. Just bracing my core on all the GPP. Let's see. All right. Same thing. Same reason we would wear it when lifting is just neural drive, EJ. Yeah, body dysmorphia is interesting. And I think the internet makes it worse. Like for men, It's fascinating. Like I saw a guy, so this is an interesting topic. There's a guy I had some interactions with years ago, and he made a video, and he was a pretty reasonably jacked guy. And this was over a decade ago. He said he was in a class like at a university with one of the leading experts in body image disorders. And she was talking about nothing but women. And he raised his hand, and he was a lifter, and he was in university at the time. And he said, well, you're only talking about women. What about men with our body dysmorphia? Now, granted, this was over a decade ago. This expert, this PhD in the field, flat looked at him and says, this isn't a problem for men because they can just go to the gym and fix it. And he's like, my jaw dropped. He was just like, how could you be that out of touch? You're an expert in body image issues. And you really think that just fixes it for men, that we don't have body dysmorphia? He couldn't believe that. And he's just like, I know so many guys with bigorexia, and he's like, myself included, that like, I was just shocked that she would say that. I'm pretty sure she is still in Australia, Dad. In my honors year, I did a specific assignment on the muscle dysmorphic in men because we decided it was an under-researched area and didn't get enough right. And it's a big deal. And I feel like Instagram has made it worse because there's so much Photoshop, so much lighting. Like, and I try to tell guys, like, I'm over here shirtless every day year round. What they don't understand is a lot of the people they follow, these influencers, they literally peak for their shirtless videos or pictures. They literally spend 6 to 8 weeks preparing for one day of pictures or a week of pictures. And then they use special lighting. When you chat with some of these guys to get to the body fats they're even at, or the ones who stay much leaner, they're like, yeah, I chew nicotine gum all the time just to keep my appetite under control. I do this. I use Clen. I use others. They use multiple drugs just to control their appetite to stay at that body fat. And then they're then promoted as, this is what you should look like. And like, I'll get that from people, and they're like, why are you not shredded? You eat clean. You do tons of cardio. You should just be shredded to the bone. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. I have to eat a lot to maintain my training loads. And yeah, I don't eat junk food. I haven't had a cheat day since Christmas. So I haven't had refined sugar or junk or butter or oils since Christmas last year. But the people have this idea that if you just do that, you're going to be shredded. I'm like, you don't understand what a lot of these guys do to maintain that. Like, they're completely oblivious. So this creates this illusion of what dudes think they're supposed to look like. And it's quite fascinating. And it creates unrealistic expectations of what they're going to do drug-free. And I don't think they've looked close at some of the fat-free mass index stuff, and they don't realize how much size they're legitimately going to reach. Or the same thing with certain levels of definition. They don't understand what it takes to be there. And I've known, I've known a guy. I've known a guy who developed an eating disorder purely from doing his first bodybuilding show. Like, he was good up until then. And he was definitely enhanced a bit. He was never a heavy gear user, but he did his first bodybuilding show, and he's like, I had an eating disorder for 2 years straight. Like, he's like, I was never able to it ruined my relationship with food doing one bodybuilding show and getting shredded. He's like, I would literally from that on for 6 months straight, he goes, I would stress about putting Splenda in my coffee and actually have anxiety over it because I'm seeing the 2 grams of extra carbs and I'm seeing it on the label. And he was like, I would hyperventilate. You know, Beam Rider fiddling with his soybean sausage, getting angry. Is this your routine? Yeah, I don't. I woke up at 6 yesterday though because I needed to sleep in. I had an amazing workout Friday, really good PRs on reps and things. My body just needed the recovery, so I woke up at 6. But I woke up about 4:30 this morning. Hit the coffee pot, go through my morning routine. I usually pray and stuff first thing in the morning. Psycher using Jason's informant. No, she's probably doing a case study on my insanity. So this guy, that's what my dad and the boys and what do you, all right. I don't have a set time. I just kind of drift off in the evenings. I'm usually in bed by 8 o'clock. All right. I'm not trying to be up awake when the sun's down. Not even our natural biorhythms. And I'm very productive. Like I like mornings. I just wake up naturally. Like I already did some other work. So I usually like to go to bed fairly early. Yeah, sometimes I'll put shows on and I just fall asleep. So someone said, well, you say these are wasting time, but you'll watch TV shows or movies. I'm like, yeah, when I'm laying down to go to sleep. Like I'm not, and then they just end up turning off. I don't have them set to run. And so they'll turn off at some point. And I don't find that they interfere with my sleep pattern. I'll fall asleep in the middle of them. And then outside of that, I just like, I otherwise have a pitch black room. I like fans for ambient noise, you know. So I'm usually asleep by 8 o'clock on average, and I'm usually waking up around 4:30. You know, usually 5 at the latest, and that's just my natural sleep schedule. I don't set an alarm for that. You know. Hold on, let me make another post here. We're all cross posting and doing other stuff. Got to make that social media money. Yes, I am posting group posts in mass in the middle of this because they're all monetized. I don't know what's the problem. Man. My thesis is those who use sleep trackers have poor sleep patterns. Don't even get me started on this as a coach. I have clients who live and die by these, and I'm just like, you do know this is not, the data doesn't really support this. And they give it to me at their training notes. They give me their sleep score, and I'm like, they're like, but I want to do it, and it helps me be consistent. I'm like, okay, I just let it go. That was a good video you put up yesterday on why you do one set of the big 3 for 1 to 5, right? I mean, so even look at my Friday workout. I only did 3 heavy sets. You notice everything else was 10 plus reps. Everything. Weighted pull-ups were all at least 12 reps. My rows were, 15s. I did 225 for 17 on the bench. I want to get that to 20. That's kind of one of my goals. But again, it's easier on your joints and your tendons, and then we get all the neural drive that you need. You don't need more than 1 heavy set, and just focus on building muscle, not beating up your joints further. I think people forget that too, that we get a neurological benefit to our later sets by going heavy at the start. I mean, I've literally built elite lifters using that approach very successfully. So examples, like if you guys looked at like when I put Perry squatting 615, which is almost triple his body weight. That's how we trained him. We did 1 to 2 heavy sets of squats a week for him. That's it. And he ended up squatting over triple his body weight with no reps at a powerlifting meet coming up. Broke a state record. Right. I think his next meet after that, he hit a 680 squat in the 220 weight class. Coach, I've cut 7 kilos in the past month and maintained all my strength. Yeah, losing 7 kilos and keeping all your strength is actually pretty impressive. I was talking about Perry. He's no longer a client. I coached Perry for about a year. And he ended up at his next meet. He couldn't afford a coach. He's like, it's too much on my budget. So he had to quit. And then he does a meet 10 weeks later. I'm like, man, I wish you were still on the roster so I could post that. He did a meet 10 weeks later in the 220 after he dropped coaching. So I prepped him all the way through, and he ended up squatting 680 and benching 450 pounds in that meet. You know, our problem was getting him to meets due to religious reasons for him. So in the case of with Perry, because he was an Orthodox Jew, he could not compete on Saturdays at all. So he could only do meets that weren't on Shabbos. And so we're trying to plan this stuff ahead of time. It's like, you know, yeah, it's one of those things. Holding at his finest. I'm thinking of getting my cousin a coaching slot for Christmas. He has trouble staying motivated, but he needs to start taking care of his body. No, he didn't have a choice on the drop-in right before. Like, it was literally becoming a budget issue. Keep in mind, you know, me coaching you for a year at $250 a month, it's $3,000. You know. And granted, I have people who stay on for years. I have clients who've been on for 5 years, you know, but that does add up. Here's the problem. As much as I would love to take your client for a coaching slot, just going to give you a heads up. If he's not paying for it himself, he's not going to have the same commitment. I'm just telling you. He may wait, and I don't want to turn away business. Believe me, I like the business. What I'm going to tell you is just a warning. If you're paying for it, he may not be motivated, and he may just throw your money away and not even do the workouts, unfortunately. Just be aware of that possibility. Stop spamming the chat, right? These guys just arguing. He started BS for no evident reason. Jason, do you see a spike in client demand during holiday season or just New Year's? I used to. In this economy, I've seen nothing. Just like gyms don't. So Alan, that doesn't happen anymore. So the whole New Year's thing for fitness went away in this economy. That's gone. That's not a thing anymore. And I know multiple gym owners who said they didn't get any influx of clients during the New Year's resolution. Normally we get an enormous, that's enormous. They're like, we had a normal regular month. I've heard multiple gym owners say they didn't see any increase from New Year's resolutioners. All right. Hey Dad, you're definitely getting a little annoying here, dude. But back to the point, hand holding at its finest. I mean, you guys know the rules. If a bunch of you start a vote, and decide you don't want him in here. Maybe. But by that same token, yeah, I mean, the engagement's good for overall activity. You guys do realize you can block him, right? Yourself. So if you don't want to see his comments, you can literally just hide him. You can block him. And you won't be able to read his comments anymore. In case you didn't know that. All right. I could care less. Dad is a high male to you and can be territorial on chat at times. He's a good dude. What? He brings his spice. Beam, he picks fights with everybody in here. So he has some spice. I'm not sure that that's the term I would use. Sorry, the dune just popped in my head. The spice is life. Right? Favorite TV series, Game of Thrones. That wasn't even hard. Number one. You want my number two? It'd be Battlestar Galactica. What? Dad's like a tough stepfather figure. What are you talking about? Yeah, HBO does, right? I mean, Game of Thrones, the best TV show in my lifetime. Yeah. So tough to beat. My favorite was Battlestar Galactica up until then. We're talking the second one, not the original, not the OG one that I saw as a kid. Talking about the newer one. Straight edge. So yeah, I find a heavy set then a lighter set with higher reps is very effective, right? But with a lot of that, you have to be in shape. Like most people are not going to do a heavy set of squats for high reps. So that's where it's not that early, Kenshiro. It's 6 a.m., dude. I'm always up this early. 90% of the time, I'm up before 5 a.m. Or at least awake. I may not be upright. But hit that like. Tell them, man, get them likes up, bros. The problem is, straight edge, a lot of people don't have the conditioning for a lot of that. All right. It's a matter of conditioning. There's a reason I get out and do sled work and general physical preparedness. I sleep 8 to 9 hours at least. Now, I do occasionally take naps, though. So let me be clear. I'll take post-workout naps sometimes. Keep in mind, I run a home business. I work from home. I run my own schedule. Let's see. Yeah, you really need, if you're going to train hard, and guys tell me they're sleeping less than 8 hours, when do you, it varies a little. So yesterday, I don't know if I want to tell you that, handhold it. I'm going to have stalkers be showing up, try to run me over. I already have them threaten me. That's why I let everyone know I carry a Glock when I run. It's because I really deal with threats like that. It's like, dude, I have 3 extra mags, and I have 1 mag specifically with stuff for punching auto glass. It's still expanding after going through. So I have Hornady critical duty and 1 mag, just in case. In case some jackass tries to run me down. I want to ensure proper expansion after going through the auto glass. I think people forget that too. I've had people joke. They're like, you guys didn't watch, I made $3,000 on my FBI ballistics report video on handgun ballistics. And it had tons of people. It had thousands and thousands of views on the Pew Pew channel. So I did a 30-minute review of the 32-page FBI ballistics report. I'm actually slightly a subject matter expert on hand loading and what bullets do in meat. So, right. Yeah, it's unmonetized though. So it's one of the reasons I'm not doing it anymore. Isn't one mag enough? No, Scott. No, Scott, my friend. Have you ever heard anyone get in a firefight who wished they had less ammo? It's not a thing. So I usually carry 60 rounds in my running fanny pack. No, because it's they don't monetize it. It's a problem. Even though it's definitely a passion of mine, I'm very, very big on self-defense and hand loading and precision shooting and so on. No, you can't. No, they're not going to redo it. But I mean, yeah, that video made $3,000 and it had enormous amounts of positive comments. I mean, the same thing. Like people act like they're going to come start a fight. I'm like, you guys have seen me shoot. I'm not one of those guys who needs 5 seconds between shots to hit you in the eyeball again. Like, dude, I shoot 3 shots a second accurately. 15 per mag. The FBI ballistic, it should be on the old Jason Blaha firearm channel. The channel's still there. It's just unmonetized. No, what good are BJJ or MMA? I did martial arts growing up. What good are they? Everybody's armed. It's a waste of time. Right? So, but how's it good self-defense? So what if someone's got a knife? A grown man comes at you with a knife. You need a gun, psych. You need to be strapped. I don't care whether your country doesn't allow it. You need to carry as a woman. I'm extreme. You can get them. Oh, psych. Everybody can get guns even when they're illegal. That's nonsense. Gun control doesn't actually work. All right. Again, this is my cultural view. Yeah. See, that's a problem. Y'all need to just overthrow your government and fix it. I don't understand why people allow their governments to do that at all. Yes, it's illegal to carry in a bar here. In fact, it's a felony. There's a specific sign. And we legally define a bar. Okay. The legal definition of a bar in Texas is, and they have what they call the 51% sign. A crowbar, there's a start. Better than nothing. Yeah, but you guys let them. They took away. No, you let them. I'm going to say this as politely as possible. Any country that pretty much just lets their government do that, there's a masculinity problem. At a certain point, the men should just say, yeah, no, you're not going to do this. We're just going to remove you from power. I don't think so. We can't overthink because we don't have guns. Therein lay the problem. Therein lay the problem. So, yeah, so the bar situation, let me explain how the law works on that. We call it a 51% sign, and a sign says 51%. So any place that makes 51% or more of their profits from alcohol by the drink, meaning open alcohol containers, is legally a bar. They have to have a sign posted outside. Like no sign you can ignore. So if you can find a door anywhere in a facility that has any restrictions on firearms, you can do whatever you want. Just go through that door. Like it's defendable in court. Well, that door didn't have the 1307 sign saying I couldn't open carry my gun. It was on the main door, but not the side door. I didn't go through the main door, so I didn't see it. That's the defense in court. You're legal. You found a door that didn't have the correct sign. So with a bar, they have to have the 51%. You'll see it at the bars also. If you are not a police officer, you cannot carry. the exception, the owner and any employee that he gives permission to may carry. So if the owner of the bar says that his bartenders can carry, then they can have a gun. Yeah. Yeah. The same thing. So that's how it works here. And so it's a felony. Now, keeping in mind, a felony is a big deal, right? Because if you get convicted of a felony, you lose your right to own guns, which I don't agree with, by the way. I think all American citizens, there should be no restrictions. Are you in prison? Did they let you out of prison? You should be able to own an AR-15. We're done. You have your rights. But you lose your right to vote and you lose your right to own a gun. Right? Yep. So, well, there are not going to be many Americans in the chat this early in the day, especially on a weekend. And that's okay. I know that other countries don't understand, and it's difficult to get them to understand. So how do you dispatch someone in a bar? Why would I be hanging out in a bar? Well, it's also potentially legal to get in a bar fight. So, you know, actually being the overwhelming majority of gun deaths are suicide in the U.S. Almost all the others are gang violence. It's gang on gang. So 70% of firearm deaths are suicide. Out of the homicides, 80% are gang members killing other gang members. In case you were not aware. Should I say this politely? I don't really have a problem with that second statistic. How much money are you saving the taxpayer? I hate to be a dick, but let's just call it like it is. The Crips killing the Bloods. Oh, noes. Violent criminals killing other violent criminals. And I don't have a problem with people doing martial arts, but you have to be realistic about your ability to defend yourself with it. Because when people attack you, it's often going to be by surprise. They're usually going to pick people who they know are smaller than weaker than them. They're generally going to be armed. So let's set aside a place like this. People still carry blades. And at the end of the day, martial arts is not going to fare too well against a knife. All right. All right. So just things that people have to think about there. So it's problematic. But again, I don't have advice for people in other countries with that. My advice is remove your government and get your firearm rights. There's your solution. Right. I mean, your other thing is obviously to lift weights, be fit. All right. And that's the other thing too that's always fascinating. People bring up gun violence also, and it's like you're also discounting all the cases of being used as a deterrent or self-defense. Like the deterrent statistic is extremely high. So why is that a bad violence? So if someone draws a firearm and it helps save their life or defend their property, and people count that as a negative gun violence, then I don't think that you're a very good person personally at that point, because that is an appropriate use of a firearm. Hand holding. Here is my point. I mean, this is the point I generally make. This is why I didn't say voting, but okay, firearms. Why are dangerous people let out of jail at all? Why are we infringing our constitutional rights for everybody else over a failure of the criminal justice system? In other words, the Constitution is very clear that shall not infringe. And if you go back and read the writings of those men, they literally meant shall not infringe. And actually, they used to put you in prison for not having a gun for a period of time in early America. All right. Gun lovers generally not. No. Impotent assholes. I'm definitely not impotent. Ask your mom, bro. So, but I am an asshole. Now, that being said, let's come back over to that point. Shall not be infringed. People like, well, I don't want convicted violent criminals. We want a background check. Why are you letting them out of prison? Why are we treating prison as just a thing you cycle people through? So why are we infringing our constitutional rights for a background check? When we shouldn't be letting them out of jail to begin with. If someone has not been rehabilitated sufficiently, yet a revolving door. So if you have not sufficiently rehabilitated someone to where they can be a productive member of society, why are you letting them out of prison? I think the person who lets them out should be charged with a felony. Why are you letting violent criminals out of prison? Are you rehabilitating them? If you've rehabilitated them and they're safe, then you let them out. If you can't rehabilitate them, then they should stay in indefinitely. It's very straightforward. There's your solution. Quit infringing everyone else's rights, making me pass a background check, and wasting 5 minutes of my life every time I want to buy a gun and infringing my rights. I have to waste 5 minutes. Every time I purchase something that I have a constitutional right to purchase and have the money in hand. It's bullshit. All right. So I need the government to reimburse me for that time. And if they do the stupid delay and it takes them 30 minutes to pass my background check, I charge $100 an hour for consultations. They owe me money. That's a great argument. What do you mean? You're telling me we can't have psychologists and experts determine if someone is rehabilitated or not? All right, but back over, Sean. Hey, Jason, did I tell you that in 2015 I was about to go vegan reluctantly because Gary Yorski said we are herbivores? You debunked that. Thank you so much. I enjoy heaps of meat now because you're welcome. I mean, obviously, I hope he's still eating vegetables too. All right, he's done, fellas. He's super annoying. Sean, straight edge lifestyle I do, mix vegetables and meat, all things. There we go. I don't demonize any whole food group or whatever. I eat plenty of protein, healthy fats, carbohydrates, right? We shouldn't be demonizing whole foods. I mean, I think we can fairly demonize junk food. That upsets people, but we should. It's not food. But any type of fruit, vegetable, meat, these things shouldn't be demonized. Some criminals could pass those tests. Maybe we need a specialist. Like, well, don't you think they would use psychologists for that, EJ? Okay. So because some people could slip through the cracks, we just shouldn't have a system at all, is what you're saying. Do you see the problem, handholder? Well, we can't bother to do something because some people will get through it and slip through the cracks, so we shouldn't bother at all. We can't have that mindset. You know, this is why you develop strategies and solutions. But exactly, you could have psychologists evaluate them. And yes, so occasionally one will slip out. Okay. And then they reoffend and then you get them back in prison. Would we just lose? No, you wouldn't lose. I mean, you still need a trial. What do you mean? I mean, violent. I'm talking for violent crimes in general. Like, so let's be realistic. Let's say someone commits some type of business fraud. Are they a violent criminal who you're worried? Are you worried that a non-violent person is bought a firearm legally? I mean, is this actually a real concern? So if their crime is non-violent, we wouldn't be having this conversation, you know? So yeah, we're talking violent criminals, people who are in prison for assaulting someone, robbing someone, murdering someone, any form of assault, any form of robbery, you know. I'll go so far as say breaking and entering a home. Okay, fair. Yeah, there would be no, but you need a judge to run a trial. Yeah, there should be no need for sentencing. They'll go to prison till they're rehabilitated. You know. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. No sentencing. You go to prison until they decide that you're rehabilitated enough to let out. Felony tax evasion. I don't think tax evasion should be a crime at all. I think the IRS should be abolished personally. Um, we shouldn't be taxing American citizens. Tariffs and business tax. So technically, we're back over to violating our rights. Why do we have an IRS at all? It was unconstitutional when they started it. It's unconstitutional now. Do you have nights when you wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to go back to sleep? I think everyone has that happen on occasion. All right. True coach, people spend their own money better than how the government spends it. Yeah, absolutely. I don't care where the point of that guy. What are we talking about? You guys just arguing. I'm not even paying attention to y'all's arguments with each other. Yeah, Kinshiro, I think that happens to everybody, at some point, right? Jason, would you debate Gary yesterday on the herbivore omnivore? There's no debate. What would we even debate? Are we going to debate current biology? Are we going to debate evolutionary biology? I don't see that he has any. How could he have any argument towards that? I'll tell you what we can do. Right? I don't even understand how there is an argument. I don't know. I've never done a public debate. I'm not trained in debate, by the way. I've never taken a debate class in my life. I did make an A+ in public speaking. But I've never done debate. I've never taken a debate class. So I don't really know how it works. I just assume if I call you a fucking dumbass that I won the debate, I'm like, wow, you're fucking stupid. We're done. That's a win. Like if they just say something so stupid that I have to say that, I kind of feel like I've won the debate at that point. Like, I'm sorry, that was just butt fucking moronic. I just can't. It's like I feel like I've won at that point, right? That's how it works. Yeah, see that statement alone, humans are herbivores and not omnivores biologically. That falls into the category of it's so stupid that I don't even what? We are clearly cooked food omnivores. Our entire evolutionary biology shows this, our GI tract shows this. No, still a lot of people said they saw it, but I didn't actually see it. So I simply addressed it in the live yesterday. It got pretty good views. Actually, maybe a site can be a commentary. Speaking of your firearms channel, Jason, let me put on my +5 how to weaponsmithing. I love that line, right? Oh, so many dudes used to get upset with me reloading while doing that. They're like, you're going to have problems with a squib load. And I never had one. I'd never had any malfunctions with them. Like, you guys are so ridiculous. There were guys who felt it was a safety issue because I was talking while I am loading. No, they said he put it to private immediately. But there were quite a few people who were even regular said that it was there. But, I gave my whole kind of response yesterday. And it's like I said, it's one thing if I was someone who wasn't at an elite level, but to stand here and tell a guy who has his last powerlifting meet, I have an elite total. I am in other words, an elite total. That my total Wilks and dot score puts me in the top 1% of competitive powerlifters in the entire world. I don't know what more people want from me. Well, you're using your age as a crutch because it's you're using the age modifier, but that is how powerlifting works. Yes, you're not going to have the same records at 45 that 30-year-olds have. You're not. That's reality. So it's kind of like my thought was that, and the same thing. I've kept my strength while getting leaner and fitter this year. Like I focused a lot more on cardio, general fitness, conditioning while maintaining my strength. I count that as progress. That's a win. To me, that's a win. Like I'm just as strong as I was 3 years ago at a lighter body weight with better conditioning and fitness. And I'm almost in the next age class up. So this is a very strange. I mean, I would get it if I was some guy who only benched 100 kilos. Right. I could understand that position. But I technically have elite lifts. And I'm fit and I run. Right. Yeah, and that's the thing that I tell a lot of these guys who say this. It's like, well, that's what I addressed it in the thing with Alex too. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a dick here, Alex, but one, I can out squat and deadlift you any day of the week and twice on Sunday. You can out bench me for now, but you're already having to wear elbow sleeves because your elbows hurt for all your pressing. You're not going to bench what I bench when you reach my age. It's not going to happen. Yeah, he started off as a big fanboy. He is not going to be doing what I do at my age. I'm sorry. It's just simple reality. Does Alpha Destiny take Ritalin? I don't know. I don't know a lot about psych meds. That's a big weight difference being. When I was 70 kilograms, I was knocking out 100 kilogram guys. Yeah. And what fighting sport? And we have weight classes for a reason in fighting sports, by the way. You want me to remember 2017? Well, you said in 2017, or I don't fucking remember that. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Next. Right? So dudes always bring this up. Well, you said whatever in what year. It's like, I don't remember. Yeah. Do you remember what you said 13 years ago in a video? Probably not. No. Next. I have 18,000 videos on this channel, by the way. No, probably not. But you don't know who this guy is. You made a fake natty video about him 12 years ago. Yeah, I don't even remember who he is. I would need to go see the video. The name doesn't even ring a bell. Sorry. What was low carb Corey about? That was the guy who shit in a bucket, right? Wasn't that? Was it that guy who pooped in a bucket and got his YouTube banned for pooping in a bucket? That's all I remember about low carb Corey. Are you a dark Seinfeld? I don't know what that means. The more prolific YouTube video maker, yes, thousands too. Oh. All right. Oh. It was interesting. You have guys who always talk about how well they fight on the internet. It's like nobody cares. Again, unless you're a serious competitive fighter, like literally no one cares that you think you can fight. I'm just going to call it like it is. It doesn't impress me. Like if you're like, yeah, guys, I won these Golden Gloves in boxing and I'm still an active boxer. Okay. I'm a professional UFC fighter. Okay. But if you're bragging about your fighting and you're not actually competitive and ranked somewhere, yeah, Sean, I'm going to disagree. He might be today. He definitely wasn't back then. Jason, I know you don't drink, but were you a clubber, ladies' man, when you were younger, when you guys you give? I used to go to bars. And I also worked as a bouncer for a little while. I spent a short time working as a bouncer one day a week at one place while I was in school. So, guys trying to pick up girls. Dudes don't want to hear this. Don't ever buy a girl a drink if you want her to leave with you. I can tell you that much. No. Beam, we would have hurled you through the parking lot like a fucking frisbee. All right. Dude, I was at one of those rough redneck places. All right, I'm gonna tell you the name of the place where I worked the door at, and it was a real bar. It was called. They were open for like a year. It was called the Aggie Taco Shack. and it was definitely rednecks. Yeah, why are you fighting bouncers? Why are you getting thrown out of the bar? What'd you do? It's usually because you got belligerent or you're grabbing some girl who didn't want you touching her. That's usually, yeah, you're out. No, bouncers aren't exempt, but there's witnesses showing. Everybody saw what happened. All right. No, you throw them the fuck out. I didn't like it. It's too risky though. Like I wouldn't ever do it again. Like it's too dangerous for too little money. No, bouncers don't pat down patrons. Right. No, you just chill. Unless you have a reason to watch them. If you have a reason to watch them, you're probably not going to let them in. I don't know. But yeah, I would say probably 50% of the people we threw out of that one was because some drunk dude was groping a girl who didn't want him touching her. Like at least there, that was generally that place why we were throwing dudes out. Balancing and lifting with endurance running possibly worth it? Absolutely. Plenty of people do it. Pretty common. Guys, I'm going to refill my coffee. All right. We're back. Any NFL picks for today? No. No, I don't follow the NFL really. Think selfies are stupid? No, I don't think selfies are stupid. You like taking selfies and take selfies. Not hurting anybody. Any sports I watch? Women's figure skating. That's my textbook answer. I do it. I'm just being hilarious. Like, because I mean, if I'm going to watch somebody's butt all day long in tights, I want it to be attractive. I know, dude. I'm fully aware, and I have NFL family, and so yeah, I know. Everyone in Texas loves football. It's not my thing. It kind of makes me a little bit of a coach. Who's being homophobic? I don't care. I could care less, but I'm not homophobic. I'm going to admit I think the trans thing is insane. I don't even understand why it gets thrown into the whole the gay rights thing at all. It's fucking stupid. Just done. All right, the Emperor's New Clothing. I don't play it. I don't care. It's fucking stupid. I'll take it somewhere else. This shouldn't even be an issue. But I mean, I get the idea of gay rights. Totally get it. It's fine. They should have the same rights as everybody else. They should be treated the same. All right. They want to get married. That's their business. Like I don't have an issue with that. I've said that forever, though. Even when it was still a bigger issue, I was always like, why do you care if two consenting adults sign a legal contract with each other? If you could have two exercises for the rest of your life, what would you be? A cock and a pop on the person who's restricting me to two exercises. Done. Speed legal for trans. I'm not going to touch that one. Well, here's the thing. The whole far left are anti-guns, and so therefore they wouldn't want them to have guns, would they? Oh, there's a question to ask the far left. Do you think trans people should be allowed to own guns? If they say no, you can call them a bigot. You have to learn to use the tactics of your enemy against them. It's an oxymoron, right? They would make up some excuse for them being the only ones to be able to have them. Well, that's right. Well, they're the only ones who need them because they need to be able to defend themselves against Nazis. Right? People act like there's really Nazis and fascism in the U.S. It's fucking insane. Outside of a tiny little group of rednecks out in the hills somewhere. Do you like history? I've read a lot of history, actually. What historical event was most interesting? I don't know that I could narrow it down to one. I have read a lot of history, and I've taken a fair amount of history. I made A's in all my history classes, usually. They would add to the 70% self-inflicted, right? Which we know 70% of firearm deaths are suicide. Right. All right. So EJ, with someone earlier, we were talking about something ballistic. Let me grab my two mags out of my fanny pack. I'll show you what I mean by what I carry for ammo. Sorry, there's a little fuzz. Yeah, gang excited. Well, gang on gang violence. So generally, you guys can see the difference. So as far as extra mags, I usually carry Federal HST, which is usually what I'm loaded with. So this is 147 grain plus P. So these open up, they double in size when they hit. So they double in diameter. I keep one though because I'm out jogging, and again, it's potential car incidents. I have these for punching auto glass. So the design of this polymer tip, it's designed specifically and tested repeatedly to go through auto glass without clogging with glass. And then when it hits, the polymer tip comes out and it still expands. The problem with a lot of these others, they turn into an FMJ when they get, if they get, the cavity gets filled with glass and then they don't expand properly. Because you want your handgun round to open up inside your attacker. You want it to open up like a big starfish, which these do. They look like a big starfish when they open up. So it's like blades, so that they spin and they cut. Because you want them to bleed out as fast as possible. That's the idea. You want their blood pressure to drop. All right. So, do you remember all the time you're carrying as a gist? I never leave the house without carrying. Ooh, that's a good one, Psych. I'm very familiar with 30-06. I've seen it many times on deer. It was my dad's preferred hunting cartridge, actually. I'm partial to hunting literally with 5.56 NATO and an AR. I saw the video the day after. I would have expected a larger blood splash based upon what I know about the ballistics of 30-06 at approximately 200 yards. I'm not right. I don't want to say the feds are lying about it per se. I don't want to jump into a big conspiracy theory. But human neck versus what I've seen with deer and animals and wild hogs, the human neck stopping at 30-06. You guys remember what I said originally the day before when they didn't announce what he was hit with? I said in the live stream, this came up, and I said, I think he was hit with a 5.56 or 223 based upon what I saw at the neck. That was my initial impression. I said that. I'm like, and someone else said, I think it was like a 308. I'm like, the full power 30 caliber cartridge. I'm like, I don't think so. Again, being familiar with the terminal ballistics and what these things do in flesh and in gel. And then it's claiming a 30-06, which is the next tier up. It's about 10% more push behind the same bullet as a 308. It's a slightly longer cartridge. I'm skeptical, especially the claim that at that distance, again, out of a hunting rifle too, out of that Mauser, it's got a decent length barrel, 200, 250 yards. So it's about 200 meters, guys. A human neck stopping 30-06 at that distance, literally stopping with no exit wound. Let me simply say that I have seen this particular cartridge generally exit the other side of a deer. It has been my experience 95% of the time that cartridge will punch through the torso of a deer, through the rib cage, and come out of the back, even if it hits bones. you know. And I'm talking hunting grounds that expand. I'm not talking about a full metal jacket. I am talking expanding rounds. Now, FMJ has better penetration. I have generally seen regular, just normal, regular hunting rounds, nothing special, nothing hot, regular, just like Remington core lock and stuff, right? Pretty cheap projectiles that open up, and I've seen them generally punch through deer from that cartridge. I don't think I've ever seen, because again, my dad hunted with this particular cartridge. I've never seen a deer stop it. At least the ones we have here, I've never seen it stop it. I've always seen it do an exit wound every time. You know, and it's usually a pretty good size exit wound. You know, it's, yeah. So I'm a little bothered by that, to be honest. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You know, he was holding a gun or not. I didn't see that one. You can't dismantle a Mauser. That's a fixed weapon. No, you're not breaking that down. Like, it's not an AR with an upper and lower that you can just knock down, right? It's going to be full size. So, yeah, it's not like it has takedown pins. So, let me show you. Right. So, yeah, something like this you can break down, right? You can take this down pretty quick. I don't have the same ones I do on some of the others on this. You need to be careful. You just saw me clear it. You fucking dumbass. All right. Jesus Christ, guys. You just watched me clear the chamber. So you can take this down, right? But you're not taking that Mauser down. You're having a full-size rifle. It's not a quick takedown like this. Sorry, I'm working in the dark here. So yeah, this you can take down, but what he had is going to be longer than this because this is a carbine. How good, in your opinion? You don't have to be good at all. All right. It was a greater than one MOA shot, so you don't have to be that good. A month of practice. Insinuated he took that Mauser apart? No, that's a fixed barrel. It requires tools to even take it down. And even then, the upper receiver with that barrel is still going to be like this. Then he put it back together while running. No, you need tools to take that down. You're going to have to remove bolts. Yeah. If his screwdriver was left. No, you're going to need like Allen wrenches, probably. Yeah, it's not going to be a Phillips screw that holds that receiver in place. No. They're bolts. Have you seen a long time ago? Yeah, back and to the left. Yeah. We've seen the movie a long time ago. A minute of angle. Oh, minute of angle is 1 inch per 100 yards. To give it in close for my people who don't use freedom units, that's going to be approximately 2.5 centimeters per 100 meters of distance in group size. So 1 MOA is the standard for being a proficient marksman. Meaning, can you consistently keep your grouping inside of 1 inch per every 100 yards of distance? So at 250 yards, a 2.5 inch group, right? Which is going to be right about this. Can you consistently hit this 5 times in a row without missing at 250 yards? That's 1 minute of angle. So MOA. Benjamin, I'm not going to touch that one. So yeah, I mean, I definitely have concerns. But as far as the skill, no, that's not a particularly. I'm not saying it couldn't have been a skilled shooter, but it doesn't require a high degree of proficiency. Like, are you asking me, could I not shoot for 3 years and still make that shot 100% guaranteed? Yeah. There's no way I'm missing that shot at that distance. Right. No, it was around 200 to 250. 200, I think it was closer to 200. Could you get Greta Thunberg to a 2-plate squat? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I get asked that over and over. I get asked that every day, Benjamin, by the way. My standard answer. That's just not a conversation I want to get sucked into in public under my real name. Can we kapow? No, we're not going to kapow Benjamin. He's normally asked training related questions. He's a regular. He's been a regular for a lot of the afternoon ones. He comes in here a lot. But he usually asks training related stuff. Let's see. Oh, Benjamin, you should know better. Yeah, EJ, you cracked me up and you're like, be careful, and you literally watched me clear the chamber. It's like, come on, dude. I cleared the weapon. Just so I can learn what does greater than 1 MOA, meaning, so greater than 1 MOA would mean your groups are larger than 1 inch. So in other words, let's take this ear pod box, right? So you take a box like this. Hitting this at 100 or even 200 yards is greater than 1 MOA. Make sense? Now, if you hit this at 500 yards, now we're talking. No, Dan, I'm not going to do a new firearm channel. I mean, I have an existing one. I could always try to get it remonetized. I don't even log into it anymore, though. I mean, I still technically have it. I have access to it. Maybe one day I'll go back to doing Pupu stuff. I want to eventually get into 1911s. It's going to be my next thing. I know I'm such a Glock fanboy, but I really like 1911s a lot. Those are like two ends of they hate each other groups too. 1911 guys hate Glock guys, and I really like that. Like I have such a long history with Glocks, but I kind of have a thing for the 1911 because it's the first thing I learned to shoot on as far as handguns. I'm like 10 years old, training on one. There's just a cool factor with them. It's a gentleman's weapon. I think that's what it is for me. All right. If I ever open carry, it'd have to be 1911s. Then people would be like, but you're over here talking about you have all these extra mags. You're going to be carry 7 rounds, in a magazine. Like, yeah, I know. You just have some extra mags, you'll be fine. I'm very accurate with one, though. Like, I can't maintain that accuracy out at distance. Mags are not heavy with my Glock. Like, I'm good at 7 or 10 yards, but I mean, you take me out to 25 or 30. Whereas in 1911, I can really hit out far. No, how about not, Dad? Thoughts on Doug Briganoli? I don't really know anything about him. That's some bodybuilding trainer, right? Probably teaches a bunch of silly bullshit that only works for guys on a bunch of drugs. How much does he deadlift? Sounds like a bicep training channel. Right. No, you can't. You can't be second in command. You have no mod powers here, Dad. What are you talking about? Yeah, I am very reluctant with a 30-06 thing, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, so I have mixed feelings on that, especially because I gave my initial impression of what I thought he was hit with, so I was really surprised. Doug preaches that isolation is superior. There's no evidence to confirm that in a lab anywhere. Oh, it's critical thinking, but what I mean by conspiracies, because here's the problem, because if I'm correct in my analysis, then it means the FBI is lying. Well, now we're over to a conspiracy. You see what I mean? That's the problem with it. So, I mean, we are going into conspiracy at that point. So if I'm right, and I'm thinking this is not matching what I'm expecting from a 30-06, where does that rabbit hole take us? Sean Nalawali recently recommended 4 to 8 reps on isolation movements. Is this bad advice? Yes. 4 reps on isolation work. Does this sound like a good idea to you? No, we're talking about all this stuff. I think the risk of injury is quite high on a lot of strict movements going down to 4 or 5 reps. It was attempted the U.S. press. I mean, getting up there, they didn't have good security. It was a university. I I think we know humans make mistakes and have multiple priorities. That shift is not outlandish to think those people work in professions where it may become murky. The problem though, is a lot of people would have to then be in on something like that, and then no whistleblowers to say, "Oh, they're lying. It was actually an AR, and he was hit with a 5.56." Do you see the problem here? That's not just one or two people being murky. This is official report being released to the public about a high-profile assassination. Well, that's kind of a big deal. That's kind of a big deal if that's the case. This is not a minor thing of just one or two people being a little murky. We're talking, at that point, you're talking the head of the FBI would have to be lying to the public. Everyone involved lying and no one being a whistleblower and stepping up and saying, "Hey, this isn't true." So the question becomes the why. Why? What is the reason? What do they stand to gain? I mean, sloppy work. How sloppy work isn't, "Hey, we pulled the round out and we know for a fact this was not from a 30-06. Also, context. Forensics. This is not about sloppy work at this point. FBI ballistics lab. So that's not a modern weapon. That's not an expensive rifle with a cold hammer forged barrel. It's going to have lands and rings. Common sense, people. Lands and rings. What does this mean on the ballistics end for someone who retrieves the projectile? There's a fingerprint. It's not like my Glock where you can't tell that it was my Glock that did it. Okay. Or my Daniel Defense barreled AR. You can't tell that my rifle fired that bullet. It doesn't leave a fingerprint. That's cut machine lands and rings. It will leave a ballistic fingerprint on the jacket. They can identify it. They can trace it to that barrel. This is basic stuff, guys. Everybody should know this. I would hope this is common knowledge, right? Lands and rings leave a ballistic fingerprint that can be traced back to the barrel. What a lot of people don't know is you can't do that on every gun. In the modern world, that's not true anymore. This is old school technology, right? In other words, the Gen 4 Glock in 9mm, you can't tell, for example, from the jacket where it came from. They all are identical. Meaning, well, I could narrow it down to 10 million handguns. Could it be yours? Sure. Same thing, let's say you're running Daniel Defense rifles. They could narrow it down to a Daniel Defense. Let's say you're a 5.56, they could narrow it down to a Daniel Defense and be like, we know that this fingerprint will match Daniel Defense cold hammer forged barrels. The problem is there's 100,000 of those barrels floating around. You don't know which one it came from. Whereas in what he's using, they can identify it. They can pin it down to a single barrel because it's going to have a unique fingerprint because it's not identical. The barrel is not identical to every other barrel of that design. They've been machined. They've been cut with a machine individually. And that is it's one of the things they specialize in at that ballistics lab. That's one of their areas of expertise, is identifying that fingerprint. There's no room for sloppy work. They get sent stuff from all over the country every day. So, so again, we're not talking sloppy work. So if people are literally saying that, then everyone top to bottom, like the whole bureau is, and there's no whistleblowers. So that's the concern with asking a question like that. That's kind of a big deal, And like you said, so unless it's just, hey, case closed, we think we found our guy, we're just going to overlook all this. Well, this is what we need for press coverage. This is what we need to find the guy. We caught him. It could be that. Sure. I could not give a single flying fuck about Phil Heath or any other pro bodybuilder. Benjamin. I have zero interest in anything they have to say about training. Now, he might be a great guy who has an amazing take on fantasy novels. I'm just not interested in his take on training. Just pro bodybuilders are just not, Their personal experience isn't useful for anybody else. It's just not. You're a genetic freak who used ridiculous amounts of drugs. So their personal experience and anecdote really isn't useful to anybody, unless Phil Heath has been coaching hundreds and hundreds of people who are not him. Nothing he has to say is really applicable. And is that a fair response? I just don't care. I'd rather listen to Dan John, who has 30 years of coaching experience. Right? What he has to say about training matters. Yeah, it's about time for me. We've been in here a couple hours. I'm going to go ahead and wind it down, y'all. Get some other work done. So let me wind down the tubes. And wind it down. All right, guys. Take care. I'll catch you guys in on this live this afternoon, and we're out.